Hi, I'm Darren Hefty. I'm excited to be on Farm for Profit today to chat with the guys a little bit about my background and just our TV show, radio show, that whole thing. But mostly I'm excited to talk about the Ag PhD Field Day that's coming up the last Thursday of July this year because the guys are coming up. They're going to be on stage, and you're going to have a chance to meet them and talk to them personally too.
Farm for Profit podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm for Profit podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm for Profit podcast.
And listeners, welcome back to the Farm for Profit podcast. This is Tanner.
Corey's here.
And Dave's here.
We're here for a Farm for Fun episode. It's always good to catch up with our listeners and thank them for all that they do, all that they've done to help us build our audience. We appreciate their feedback.
It's another fun episode in the morning, so we got coffee and Red Bull.
And Red Bull.
I guess.
Hey,
so
it's all about, Dave said way back in the beginning, it's got to be a conversation like coffee shop talk. And then you said the same thing of it's got to be like that. That's how we get to know and spread these stories in agriculture.
right. Yeah. Whether it's a bar or a coffee shop, it all works the same.
So what you got in there? Donut shop, French roast.
It is Friday.
You know, I didn't even look. You got that multi-flavor box, and I just kind of reach my hand in there and get surprised.
I do like having a
Get a surprise.
but no, listeners, your opinion matters. We appreciate the feedback, guests, and topics. farmforprofitllc@gmail.com. Appreciate you sending those text messages in. 515-207-9640. So we got a lot of good things happening this summer. We get to go to a couple of different states, get to see some of you in person. So make sure you check out our website. We'll have dates for our travel excursions as far as that goes. You guys fired up and ready to start this one off?
I am. First and last of the day, so we don't get to do that very often.
You think it's the last one of the day. No, go ahead. Fire away.
Today on the Farm for Fun show, we head to South Dakota to visit with a friend. He's a fourth-generation farmer and half of the team that, in my opinion, paved the way for new agriculture media. Alongside with his brother, Brian, they host and manage the Ag PhD TV and radio show and also manage the Hefty Seed Company. Please welcome from South Dakota, Darren Hefty.
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
Very good.
We're good. Now, I noticed you said half the team. You didn't say the better half.
No, that's why I left it to people's opinion, you know.
Well, it's okay. We don't have to throw Brian under the bus just yet. We can, but we don't need to.
I think we're going to spend the whole show doing that.
That sounds like our regular show on Ag PhD.
Well, this is a pleasure. I feel like we've got royalty on the line. We really do appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. You know, one of the things that we learned really quick when we started Ag PhD in 1998, we started the TV show. There just weren't a lot of other shows out there, and farmers were really hungry for information and people that would talk about what's going on. So I'm really happy that in this day and age, we've got a lot of different places where farmers can go to find stuff. And hey, we're still out there too and enjoying it. And like you say, Farm for Fun today. And it's always fun farming. We do want to make money too. Like you say, Farm for Profit is a great idea. That kind of keeps the doors open, but we do want to have fun as we're doing it too.
What if you could tap into advanced guidance and automation tools without buying a new machine? You can with the Precision Essentials Kit from John Deere. Everything you need to give current machines advanced technology. Learn more at johndeere.com/essentials.
So are you really, truly happy that farmers have a lot of different avenues to get their information today? Or are we like a pest that you just wish you'd squish with a fly swatter?
Absolutely. No, it's been a great thing. And I mean, you look at some of the opportunities that we've got now. And so in 1999, when RFD TV got going, we were one of the first shows on, arguing we were the first show on, but may not have been the first show on, but we were on from day one on RFD, and we were excited that, hey, here's an opportunity for farmers. We had seen back in the 80s, when we were way too young to be a part of this, there were a few things that tried and failed. And so here in the late 1990s, boy, here's one. It looks good. It sounds good. Hopefully they'll make it. And yeah, we'll give it a shot. And they did. And they did great. And then years later, they got a channel on Sirius XM. And so we're on that too, the Rural Radio channel. And, you know, now you don't have to be on a big network or anything like that to get your word out there. And there's a lot more opportunities. I love the Acres TV app. That's been a great free streaming service for farmers. Lots of shows on there, and that we're real thankful to be part of that as well. So yeah, I'm happy now. I can tune in and see other shows and see what other people are thinking and doing as well.
So I want to get more into that, but before we do that, we like to go all the way back and learn kind of what molded you and how you got to that point. So talk about growing up. Were you farming when you were a kid? You know, how did that all come about?
Well, loved the farm from day one. And I started out working for a penny, which I didn't need anything. I just wanted to buy baseball cards eventually when I was a little kid. And so they gave me a little bit of money, and that kept me happy. And when Mom went and shopped for some groceries once a week, if I had enough money to get a pack of baseball cards, that was about all it took to keep me happy. I just love being on the farm. I grew up loving livestock first. That was really my first jobs. We had a farrow to finish hog operation and a cow-calf operation. How do you not love baby animals on a farm?
Right.
I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. And for my dad, he was always a big safety guy. And so for me as a little kid, he's like, well, the smallest animal I got that you can work with is a little baby pig. So once I get the sows out of the way and you got a tiny little 10-pound, 20-pound baby pig, you can take care of those guys. And I just had a blast doing it. So that's how I grew up. I grew up doing chores at 5 a.m. and then trying to catch the school bus at 7. And learned really early about hard work. And I loved it because I wanted to take care of those animals and I wanted them to do great. And then eventually that turned into bean walking. And I can't say I was the biggest fan of bean walking, but I did get paid more than a penny. So that was okay. And I like making a little money in the summer, but man, those days got long walking beans. So I was pretty thankful when we had some other alternatives to doing just walk and pull.
Did you ever get to ride the beans and do the spot spray? And that
absolutely.
I enjoyed that.
We had a 3-wheeled one. We had, you sat over the motor and you controlled it with your foot pedals, and it was out wide. That was the job.
Yeah, it was fun. We had a bar mounted on the front of an old John Deere 4020 at the start. And so I'd sit in one of the 4 chairs there, and somebody who was driving the tractor would also have a squirt gun. And I think my brother probably still has some pink or purple stains on his legs from a little crossfire action that was going on out there. But yeah, we had fun doing it. We learned a lot about herbicides, and it kind of led to the weed of the week. My sister got involved in some of those escapades when we were killing weeds as kids. And I remember she had this recurring nightmare of a big milkweed, and we'd already passed it. And she turned around, here's this big milkweed that we missed. So yeah, there's a lot of those things. We were definitely farm kids.
Huh. I still remember going out and pulling buttonweeds.
Oh yeah.
Probably just, that's a distinct smell. You'd spend all day doing that, and you just, everything, your sleeves, your gloves, you just smelled like it.
Yeah. All the sensory feelings there, all the weeds.
Pennycress. Oh, there were some stinky weeds out there we had to deal with.
Yep.
That's what we're going to call you, Dave, is a stinky weed.
We were also on a 4020. I remember that 3 or 4 seater. So yeah.
Oh, it's a great tractor.
Yep. Loader on the loader. And
in fact, Dad traded in that 4020 when he bought, I think a 4440 was the next upgrade, and it had a cab, which was pretty nice for moving snow, but he missed that 4020. He regretted that every day after. He's like, man, it was the 1980s. I really didn't have any money. I kind of had to trade it off, but he felt bad about that.
So it does say that you are an SDSU grad, correct?
South Dakota State University. That's correct.
And did you go back to the farm right away after college?
Kind of. So when Brandon and I were growing up, one thing that Dad told us was you're going to have to go work for somebody else for a while, and then maybe you can come back to the farm. So that was always the mindset. So I'm going to college thinking, all right, I'm going to end up working somewhere else, thinking about what I wanted to do and that kind of thing. And the last summer when I was just getting ready to head back to college for my senior year, my dad said, hey, you know how I told you I wanted you to work for somebody else? I'm like, yes, Dad, I get it. I gotta make my own way. I understand. He goes, well, forget all that. I need you. I need you to come back. Are you willing to come back? And I'm like, of course I am. That'd be great. And so I'm thinking I'm going to be part of this diverse livestock crop farming kind of operation here. And I was excited about it. And I'm like, great, where do we start? He goes, well, the first thing I'm going to have you do is haul all the pigs and all the cattle to town we're done with livestock. I'm getting an animal science minor at college, and I'm loving all these nutrition classes and everything else that I'm taking. I'm like, wait, you're changing the plan on me. This isn't what I agreed to. And he's like, no, we're gonna get big into agronomy. And we started talking about all the lessons I'd already learned being out in the field all the time growing up. And I'm like, well, I did really kind of love that too. And the understanding of the livestock was going to be great. We had a neighbor that had a small dairy. We were going to have some manure access, and we had to get the rations right. Dad really didn't know much about the soil testing and soil fertility. And so right off the bat, Brian and I had a lot of things that, okay, we've got some areas here we could really bring something back to the operation. And I tell young people that all the time. What are you bringing back to the operation? Clearly, it's not a whole bunch of capital. So you got to bring back some knowledge and some energy to try and do stuff better or do stuff a little bit different out on the farm.
Well, it sounds like you had a zigzag pattern, just true jackrabbit form.
Yeah.
Well, it's just a great way to grow up. And we learned how to work hard, and we learned how to just continue to learn. And that was something that Dad always impressed on us too, is just being a lifelong learner.
Yep.
So what year roughly would that have been you came back to the farm?
Well, I came back in 1993, and Brian came back, I think, 1933 or something. I don't know. It's quite a bit older.
1933.
Rough times back then,
Yeah.
That is so. What started first then, the seed or the chemical business?
Well, so my dad grew up in north central Iowa, and he was farming with his dad and his brother, and he married my mom in the 1960s, 1967, I guess. And they were farming together then with my dad's family. And my mom's family, her parents decided, you know what, we're going to retire and we're going to focus on some other stuff here, and they'd like to sell them the farm. And so my dad and mom said, sure, but the farm is in South Dakota. And my dad said, wow, I did not realize the big difference farming in South Dakota versus 4 feet deep black soils, an inch of rain every week, that kind of stuff in Iowa. Now, it wasn't quite that perfect, but they definitely got more rain than we did. And so one of his stories that he always told was my mom, he said, I remember one time it was raining. And, at night, sometimes if it starts raining, you can't sleep because it's loud or whatever. And he's like, and I just look over and she's just smiling. And he said, what are you smiling about? What are you thinking about? And she's like, it's raining. It's great. He's like, what do you mean? It rains all the time. She goes, you've never lived in South Dakota yet, have you? And anyway, he said, I learned really quickly what she meant, that it just doesn't rain when you want it to in South Dakota. So he learned really fast. He had to be better at what he did. He said, rain made up for a lot of my mistakes. And if we don't get rain very often, I got to be even better. I can't make mistakes. So that was always a guiding principle for him.
Wow. Well, that kind of brings a little extra reason as to why you guys are as impactful as you are. I didn't realize you had Iowa roots. So that's huge.
So Brian was technically born in Iowa, and every once in a while I'll mention that to him. I'm like, yeah, you were born in Iowa. So I guess things are a little different here, but
well, he might be the favorite front runner here.
I should say no. This is part 1 and Brian is part 2. So I will use that in my intro. He's an Iowan.
It probably explains the gray hair for him. I'm not sure.
So it's you're back early 90s, you go through the mid 90s, we have Roundup come. Where the heck does that seed get freaking blossomed into a TV show?
Well, so we got back in the business in the 1990s with my dad, and at that point, Dad was doing educational meetings, and he wasn't doing a lot of them, but there was getting to be more requests of, hey, would you come to our community and do a talk? And so he hooked Brian and me into that really quick, and we were horrible. I mean, we weren't the best public speakers or anything like that. Nobody is when you get started. And so we learned all those lessons, and eventually we got a little bit better. And pretty soon Dad's like, man, you guys are doing pretty good at this. Maybe you guys should do these meetings, and I'll just kind of be in the background. And so he kind of pushed us to the front. And so we got to talk about stuff and meet a lot of people. And that was great. And eventually that was, well, let's do more meetings. And man, we were young, and we're like, man, this is a lot of running around. We want to get back home and get stuff done we need to get done. And so my dad got approached by another television program, and they said, hey, would you guys want to sponsor us? And Dad's like, man, I don't even watch that show. We should do our own show. Then we could just do a show and not have to travel all over. And man, that was pretty naive thinking, because as soon as we started doing a show, then we got more requests to travel around
all over. Yeah.
But that's how it goes. So anyway, that's kind of how we got into it. And we started with the sales pitch from my dad. He was quite a salesman. He said, all right, we'll do a 30-minute show once a week. No big deal. That's 10 minutes each for us. And he goes, heck, you put commercials in there, it's probably 7 minutes or something each. He goes, that's not much. We can each talk about one thing. We'll be good. So we thought, okay, I guess we could do that. We're pretty busy, but we'll give it a shot. Man, it took Dad, I don't know, a couple of months. And he's like, you guys are so much better at this than me. Why don't you guys just do it? And we're like, oh man, this was a setup all the way along. He was going to ditch us. But we've actually really enjoyed it. It's been fun. I mean, once we kind of got our feet underneath us and figured out what we were doing, and you guys see the same thing. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not going to comment on your first show, but it's not as good as it is today. I mean, your show today is great. And how did it get that way? It's because you've done it a few times and you even put up with Dave. So it's not, it's not tough.
That's a very, I don't know if there's more truer words.
True words. So
Okay.
is that what it is?
So now it's a show a week for the last 27 years.
Yeah, but who's counting? It doesn't
Somebody
seem
did.
like that many years. Brian says it seems like about 50 years working with me, but I don't think it seems like that many years. But it's been fun.
A long time to work with your brother. That's a long time to be consistent. I mean, we understand how hard it is, and we're not live. Everything we do is pre-recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think about that. The blessing and the curse on many family farms is you get to work with your family. It's great. It's awesome. There's so many good things about it. But yes, it's your siblings, and you all know which buttons to push if you need to. And so that can be a little stressful too. So one thing that was cool, my dad learned something pretty young. So he was farming with his dad and his brother, and he's like, man, we all three wanted to be in charge of everything. And we didn't really get that sorted out. He goes, for me, it was easy just to exit and go take over your mom's family's farm, and then I could just be the boss. And that gave my dad and my brother more space in Iowa. And so when Brandon and I came back in the business, we're like, wait a second, 3 Hefties in one spot here. How's this going to work? And Dad said, no, because I've learned some lessons here, because he liked to be in control of stuff. And he said, okay, I'm going to be in control of this over here. Brian can be in control of that over there. Darren can be in control of this over here. And then we can all kind of work together on stuff, but know that one of us is taking lead on each different aspect. And so that was really good for us. And I talked to a lot of young farmers about this too. How is this going to work? My parents want to be in charge of absolutely everything. You just have to have really open conversation and figure out, okay, what's something that I could be in charge of? Maybe I'm just in charge of tillage. Great. Then I'm in charge of tillage. I'll make those decisions. Or maybe you're in charge of picking the seed varieties or something like that. Great. Give the young person something to be in charge of. And the other thing is, on the finance side, they've got to be aware of what's going on. If you want to bring in young people back in the farm, you got to give them some details here about, okay, here's what we're doing. Here's how much we're making. Here's how we're doing things. Maybe not day one, but as they work their way in the first year or two, I would say, yeah, you got to start putting that out on the table and here's what the game plan is. You're not just going to be our slave for the next 30 years and then we're going to give it all to your sister. Here's how we're going to do it. And here's your chance to work your way into the operation. And here's how that's going to look. And I think if you do that up front, then everybody knows what they're getting into, and it just makes things so much easier.
It looks like you actually have some background on the financial side to come out with some experience there.
Well, it is important. And the other thing that we see is life is pretty fragile. And we work in a dangerous business. There are farm accidents every year. Hope it never happens to anybody listening here or anybody on the show here. But it does. It does from time to time. And, sometimes there's accidents. Sometimes people get sick. You just never know. And if one person is in charge of everything on the farm, that leaves everybody else in a really bad spot. So we really need to have more than one person able to do every single job. On our farm, one of the things that was hard for my dad to give up was planting. Oh, he had to plant. He was the best. Nobody could do it as good as him. And, it's that kind of mentality we see on farms all over. Well, I'm the only guy that can really do this. Like, well, that's because you haven't given anybody else a chance. Give somebody else a chance. Let them do it. They're not going to do it perfect the first time. But if they're 70% is good. Yeah, that's probably good enough. And they'll learn as they get the experience, just like you did.
Yep. So you were talking about, the conversations that you had with obviously your dad and making plans and figuring things out. Do you have kids of your own?
I do. I got a pack of them. I got 6 kids. So yeah, they're all different too, all different strengths. This is something my wife and I talk about too is, okay, well, will any of them want to get into the business, or will they all just go off and do their own thing? I don't know. And I would love it if they did, but by the same token, it's pretty easy if they don't. Okay, well, I just do this as long as I want, and maybe it's my brother that continues on, or maybe a nephew or a niece or something that continues on, or maybe we just sell it. Who knows? But if they want to get back in, they got to have some chances early. They got to have some responsibility, and let's just see how it works out. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we got to interview Zach, which would be a nephew of yours, correct?
Yeah.
And we nicknamed him Prince Hefty.
Prince Hefty.
which if you follow that, then that makes Brian King Hefty.
Oh boy.
Right?
Well, you can be a prince even if your dad's not the king. But yes, I got you.
Okay.
I got you. Well, just look at what's going on in England. Everybody's a prince over there. So
That's true.
I had to throw that in there just a little bit. But so what's the age range of your family then?
Well, my kids are 22 is the oldest and 14 is the youngest.
Yeah, so you're busy chasing all activities and everything at the same time as managing your hectic schedule as well.
Just had another high school graduation this year, the third one of 6. So we're halfway home. I'm excited about that whole empty nest thing. I know my wife is not, so we'll see. I don't know if that's the way it is in every home, but they say, if the kid doesn't dirty up the nest just a little bit, you're not ready to let them go. So maybe some of our kids are too nice. I'm not sure.
Right. Back on the Ag PhD deal, you say, it's only going to take 10 minutes a person per show. Well, we all know that it takes way longer than that.
That's a big lie, right?
Yeah, it's a big old lie. And obviously there's certain times of the year the farm is very demanding. How did you manage that?
Yeah, scheduling is a big thing. And you guys know that too. Well, like take this week, for example, we had to film, and when we film, we're doing it outside. So we've got to get the right weather to be able to do it. We had one day this week that it wasn't raining, one. And so, well, that's the day. So everybody just has to drop everything and we got to get it done that day. And, fortunately on a rain day, you do have a little bit of time, or a rain week, you do have a little bit of time. You can't really do anything out in the field, and nobody else is really doing anything either. So it worked out good this time, but some weeks it's just perfect weather all week. And what do we want for filming? Well, we want the day that it's not super windy. Well, that's also one of the few days that you get to spray and you get to do other things. So yeah, it's just a balancing time and scheduling and those kinds of things. And, as we're more than 20 years into this, we've gotten it down pretty well. We've got a great crew. They take care of a lot of the stuff. So Brian and I can just show up and do our thing. They spend a lot of time making us look good each week, kind of like you. The TV show is pre-recorded, so it does get a little massaging to look good. I mean, Brian, it takes a lot of work there to make that look good, but it's just one of those things over the years you figure out how to do it.
How big is the team around you?
That's a great question. We've got a couple extras right now. We in the summer we end up with some help. Now, not always on Ag PhD do we get extra help. The guys here are pretty fussy and they do a great job. But generally there's 4, 5, 6 people around, I guess, depending on exactly how you look at it.
Nice. I figured there'd be more.
Yeah, they work hard. These guys wear a lot of hats and they're pretty good with the equipment and flying drones and, setting up. And the other thing is they really understand farming now, which is great too. And so, yeah, somebody from our Ag PhD team is constantly talking to somebody on our farm. Hey, what's going on out there today? Is there anything cool that we could film? And, are you noticing anything out in the fields? And, if we're out scouting or something, they're right on us about, hey, is there anything we could film? Is there anywhere we could go? Or maybe we've got a new weed of the week that they're looking for footage. And, hey, can you give us a hint of where we might find this one so we can get out and get some good shots? So, yeah, they're just really good at what they do.
Darren, you said that they're asking you what's going on out in the field. Do you think your neighbors wonder that too? Like, as you've done this for years and years, did you just paint a target on your back that you're now way more public than everyone else that's your neighbors? And so they all know exactly what you're doing? Or was there ever a target, or is there a target?
That's a good question. I mean, they certainly don't really bat an eye at a film crew running around anymore. That's old hat for everybody around here. But, as far as watching our fields, I know there's a lot of people that are watching to see how we're doing and see if we're doing well or if we're messing up or whatever. But I don't know. I like it. I like that. I like having this high expectation that we're going to try and do a great job out there. And, we just share openly everything we're doing on the farm with anyone. And we talk about it every day on the radio. We talk about it every week on TV. We literally lay out our entire program at our workshops that we do on paper. You can take it home. You can try and do the same type of thing if you want. But every area is a little bit different. The climate's a little different. The soil's a little different. Topography, all those things. So maybe it's a good guideline of, okay, here's how they're addressing pigweed, or here's how they're addressing a certain soil issue or something like that. We just don't see other farmers as competition. We just feel like we've got a responsibility, if we know something that could help other people, to share it. And there are a lot of farmers that would say, well, I don't want to tell anybody about this certain practice that I'm doing. That's my competitive advantage.
Yeah.
We don't see it that way. We just see it's our responsibility. Hey, we figured something out that doesn't work. We want to tell people about that. Or we figure something out that does work. We want to tell people about that too. And that's gone well for us, talking about our mistakes and talking about things that went right, because now we have farmers literally globally opening up to us. Hey, what you guys said about how you're addressing boron fertility, for example, here's something else I learned. And then we're like, oh, never thought of that. That's awesome. We'll try it your way and see how it works. And, for Brian and me too, we each have our own ideas. And sometimes Brian wants to do it one way and I want to do it the other. We just try it out in the field. And we figure out which one works best, and one of them is going to be a little bit better, and whichever one works better for us and helps our farm make more yield and more money, that's the one we're going to go with.
So you guys are still in school, but does anybody actually have a PhD?
Not technically a university PhD. My dad always talked about the School of Hard Knocks and that kind of stuff.
Fair enough.
But no, we don't.
They identify as a PhD.
They identify as a PhD.
I don't think Brian and I could have made it through that much school, to be honest. I think we were both ready to get out and get back out to doing stuff. You can only be broke for so long when you feel like, man, I'm tired of being broke. I want to get out and try and make some money.
You think SDSU would just give you an honorary one, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. We do a lot of stuff at SDSU. We both had a great experience there, and there's some great people on staff. We've got, a lot of our kids have either looked at SDSU or going there. I know Brian's had one go there, and I've got one up there right now, and got another one that's all blue and gold. So I know she's going to want to go there in a few years too. So we'll see. I really like the school and like what they do.
Well, I want to learn more about what you guys are doing on the farm and some things that you're trying this year, but I want to answer the game first. So we did announce that this is part one of two parts. We selected to interview you and your brother separately to have a little extra fun. So I'm going to ask some questions about you and Brian. So I'll need two answers about your childhood, and then I'll compare. I'll have him answer questions about you and his episode. And then reveal
Brian's
your
memory is kind of faulty, though. I'll just warn you on that right away.
His memory is kind of faulty.
So he's just going to be wrong? Is that what we're to expect?
That's how I look at it anyway. His version might be slightly different.
That's right. So we'll start off with, for each of you, what was your most prized childhood possession?
I would say my bike. We'd ride a lot, and Brian and I are pretty competitive. We both found, probably from like an old Sears catalog or something, we found these speedometers that we could put on our bikes, and they weren't expensive, but we each put speedometers on our bike, which was good and bad. The good, we could see how many miles we went, and we went 10 miles today, and then we're going to have to beat that tomorrow. But the downside was, I got going 25 miles an hour down this hill on a gravel road. Let's see if we can get to 30. That resulted in a lot of loss of skin for me over the years.
So what was his favorite or most important childhood possession?
Oh boy. I'm going to say a computer. And here's why.
They had those back then?
Well,
sorry.
I know it was old, but Brian really got into that, and that really helped our operations. So my dad had a business, and Brian actually computerized all his records, set up all the files, all the customers, all that kind of stuff, and just kind of fell in love with, wow, I can do a lot of stuff with a spreadsheet. We still use spreadsheets that Brian's developed for our fertility program, and we'll have them at some of our workshops. We'll have free links where other people can have them. And that's pretty cool. So I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily childhood. I would say he was probably an early teenager at that point, but if that counts, I'm going to go with that answer.
I hate to tell you this, but this is 2 points for Brian so far. 1 being from Iowa and 2 being a lover of spreadsheets.
He's a lover of spreadsheets. That's definitely his gift.
It's a freak in the sheets.
He's a freak in the sheets.
What as a little kid did either one of you do that was super embarrassing?
Oh, boy, that's a great question.
You guys have any moments like that? You ever have an embarrassing moment as a kid?
I kind of alluded to one talking about my bike. So I did hit 30 miles an hour plus, and I sped away from Brian. I was way faster. And we're coming down the hill, and so I'm thinking, this is great. I'm looking down at the speedometer instead of looking forward. Hit a big rock, flew over the handlebars, scraped most of the skin off my nose. I just looked like pretty terrible. Well, we get back down to the house, and I got chewed out for being dumb. And sure enough, we had relatives coming over that night. So here I am with my face all scraped off, and I just felt super embarrassed about that. So that's one that comes to mind. Man, for Brian, I don't know. His whole life's been an embarrassment, but no, I don't know. I don't know what that would be for him. I'm
really writing down whole life, just so you know.
Whole life.
Yeah, probably whole life. But I don't know. I don't know what it would be for him.
Hello, farmers. Harvest waits for no one, and neither should you. Sukup Manufacturing has grain storage, drying, and handling equipment you need now to be ready when it counts.
Whether you're upgrading your bins, adding a dryer, or improving efficiency, place your order today and still get it in time for this harvest.
Trust Sukup, a family-owned company built by farmers for farmers.
Visit sukup.com or contact your local dealer to get started today. Sukup, store now, profit later.
I'm not sure.
What'd you do, Corey? What was embarrassing about your childhood?
I've said it on the show before, but my cousin and I got into my mom's hair dye and completely bleached our hair the day before family pictures.
Really?
Yeah. like Eminem bleached, like almost orange.
Yeah. The rapper Eminem, not the color of Eminem.
That's back in style now. I see a lot of the teenage kids now shaving heads and bleaching them out.
Yep. Maybe we should do that as a challenge.
No,
Get rid of some of your gray, Tanner.
Screw the water challenge. Mom's hair dye challenge.
I had one of my kids, take a scissors to another kid's hair, and that did not turn out very well. And you'd think there'd be something like that, and I can't come up with anything specific on Brian other than just kind of the whole thing.
Well, we'll have 2 quick ones here, and then we'll finish with a last one. So, what's your favorite, planting or harvest?
Oh boy, that's tough. Those are my 2
I thought
favorites.
this was going to be a quick one.
Well, I'm going to say since we're right in the spring now, I'm going to say planting, and here's why. We've had to deal with pretty much 6 months of no color, and when my dad technically retired, he started going down to Arizona, and he said, the one thing that I missed was color. He said, I really didn't realize how much I missed color. And, I'm thinking about that as all the leaves are back on the trees and I can row crop out in the field. That's one of my favorite times of the year.
Mm-hmm. Should be a tulip farmer.
He should be a tulip farmer. And what about Brian? What's his favorite season, do you think?
Oh, I think it's harvest. He's all about the numbers. So I'm going to go with harvest for sure.
Okay. How about your eggs? How do you like your eggs?
I just scramble them up.
And Brian?
I think he scrambles them up too.
Oh, boring.
Well, I don't know. He might do something different, but
What do you got? How do you prefer your eggs? You're a scramble guy, or do you even eat eggs?
Yeah, I eat eggs. I used to be more scrambled. Now I'm just over easy.
Yeah, over easy or even sunny side up. I like the yolk runny, especially you get it like on a sandwich and it just kind of drizzles down.
I had that
everything.
Have you seen the TikTok in the pan? Oh, never mind.
No, I did. I had one of those burgers that had onion rings on it and bacon, and then a runny egg.
Yeah, that's good.
That was really good. All right, last one, and then we'll move on for you, Darren.
Okay.
What's your weakness? What's your kryptonite?
Well, sugar. I just can't say no to a good cookie or piece of pie or something like that. I got to get better at that. It's still my weakness. Has been for a long time.
Now, is Brian the same?
Oh, boy. That's a good question. What would he have? No, I wouldn't say the sugar thing isn't as big a deal for him. I'd say chocolate, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with chocolate.
What's your weakness, Corey? What stops you in your track?
So I'm not a chocolate. Like I do like chocolate, but I'm not a huge chocolate guy. I probably would be like a Jolly Rancher, like a hard candy, or like a Spree. I don't know, like those little hard Sprees.
Yeah,
I like those. Yeah.
You said Spree and my mouth watered.
I know. Like it's an underrated
weird.
candy.
Your mouth watered when he said spreadsheet. So that's come on now.
That's definitely a weakness for Brian too, spreadsheets. But
Yeah. Do you got one, Dave?
Sugar.
Red Bull?
Yeah.
Red Bull, yeah.
It used to be Mountain Dew. I stopped Mountain Dew a long time ago. So just cold turkey.
Really? Is it cold turkey if you just started drinking Red Bull instead of Mountain Dew?
I waited like 3 years and then I got into Red Bull.
All right, Darren, tell us a little bit about what's going on at the farm. What types of crops you guys put in the ground? Is everything just a test plot? What's it look like?
Well, we do a lot of trial work on our farm, but we've got a big farm operation. We definitely want to make money on the farm in addition to doing all these trials. We do a lot of corn for silage now. Our neighbor's dairy that used to be pretty small, when they retired, they sold out to a bigger operation that greatly expanded, and now they're milking over 7,000 head a day. So we sell a lot of corn to them for silage, and we do raise some corn for grain as well. We raise soybeans. We've got a pretty good amount of alfalfa anymore, and just a little bit of oats as well.
So when you go to silage, sorry, Dave, I cut you off. Go ahead.
I'm changing directions, so keep going.
So when you go to silage, all these trials, is it harder to collect the data then?
Definitely.
So what
harder.
method do you use? Is it just tons per acre, or how estimated?
Yeah. So we do a little bit of trial work where we'll cut out little spots. So we'll go out by hand, cutting out areas to evaluate different things. But man, that's a lot of work. So with our trials that we do in our silage now, I mean, when those cutters come and it's not us cutting it, they just want to roll. They need to keep rolling. And so for them, having a straight strip down the field doesn't really work. So we've gotten into doing some cross strips. We can watch it with satellite imagery. We can do some different measurements that way, and it's worked much better for us. So we're just setting up our trials in a little different way out on those silage acres. But yeah, it's way harder than doing it with grain where we're combining it ourselves.
Dave's crop got harvested for silage last year.
It did.
All of it. All 65 acres of it.
With the white harvester?
No, with a yeah. It just a big John Deere rig that came in, but I was surprised how much low tech there was on it.
Yeah.
They had no way to weigh it, no way to tell me how much, no way to but they wanted to move. Let me tell you what, they just kept them silage wagons moving nonstop.
Yeah. No, you didn't get hail. You just had someone next door that wanted silage, and your farm was right across the road.
Yep.
You're going to ask something else.
Everything we harvest, it all goes across a scale. They do have high tech, so they've got the latest tech to try to measure things. Same with our manure applications. They've got tech to measure how much nitrogen is going out and what volume is going out on every acre, that kind of thing. But to me, it's not quite as good as what a yield monitor will do for you, but it's getting closer.
Yeah, I mean, they even came back and put manure, but we don't know how much. I mean,
Is that part of the process? You sell them the silage and you get manure back?
Yes. Yes, for sure. And the challenge on the manure is just getting a good analysis because it's not the most consistent product, depending on how well a job or how good a job they do stirring it up. But that's been a nice thing for us to have that option. We still have to supplement with commercial fertilizer. We can't put enough manure on even to feed the next crop with what our yield goal's at. Otherwise, we end up getting too much salt. And that's something we talk to a lot of farmers about is just watch how much salt is in the manure. If we happen to get those dry years, that can come back to bite you. So you want to make sure you're not over applying.
No, Dave just made a note. So he's going to go out there and taste his soil this afternoon to see if it's salty.
There you go.
Something like that.
Sprinkle a little bit on those eggs.
I was using AI to determine how much nutrient was back on the soil from a modest amount of manure, and then figure out what I had to supplement back, just like you said, in commercial fertilizer to put on there. And I was wondering how much AI you used in your operation and how much moving forward that looked like. But I don't want to forget my last question too. But go there.
Sure, we can talk about that. I do a lot of work in schools, and so I was in my daughter's middle school class just a month ago, and I brought up the question of AI, and I said, "How many of you are using AI?" Every hand in the room goes up, and I said, "Which one do you use?" And they're all like, "Chat GPT," and then one kid's like, "Wait, there's more than one AI option out there," and that was revolutionary to him. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's lots of different choices out there, and there's probably going to be more going forward. We'll see. But, it's something really cool for agriculture. There's a lot of things AI can help with, whether you're just researching a subject or, looking at nutrient balancing in your soils, those kinds of things. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely some AI in the background of some of the things that we'll use in some of the programs we'll work with.
I think they need to come up with their own, the Ag PhD AI specifically for agronomy.
You can do that in a project. So I'm working on a farmland one right now that everything that outputs has a tone, a spin, everything that's farmland. You can do it in a project. And I know a couple of friends that are already selling their version. You can do it with chat. So ours is called Farmland Desk, and you can buy into it so that when you respond, other people can respond with all the parameters and the conditional formulas you put in there.
Need a Darren bot.
Neat.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
You could for sure. I always try to geek out and pretend you're Ag PhD. Now make a decision on my farm this way and go research everything they did and what are the top qualities of the best agronomists in the world. Now let's ask the question. Then prompt it the right way. And I think that's what most people miss in AI is prompting it. But let me pivot for a second. Do you think, so it's you, your brother, lots of kids, more kids on his side. Your dad started this family tree. We've had this conversation this week. Farming's getting tougher and tougher. Would you still be farming without Ag PhD or any social media or anything else? Would you be able to make it?
100%. Yep. We're super passionate about it. Now, who knows?
Passionate one, but profitable?
Who knows which direction we would have gone? Maybe we wouldn't have learned the same things if we weren't doing Ag PhD, so we're talking to people all over. I don't know about that, but would we still be doing it? Do we still love it? And are we doing it to make money? Are we making money on the farm? Absolutely.
Yeah,
one thing I would change, though, if you said, what would you change? I would start buying land earlier. And I think that's something that our dad should have been a little more proactive on. But I remember the first piece of ground I bought, and I had a neighbor, and he called me and he said, "Hey, I know you're looking to get going here. I know you don't have any ground yet. So I've got some. I'd like to sell it to you. Here's a fair price." And it was a fair price for the time. And I was like, wow, that is awesome. I said, can I have a couple of days and can I talk to my dad about this? And he's like, absolutely. I'm not pushing on you. I'm not calling anybody else. I'm giving you first shot till you tell me no. So I called my dad and I told him all this, and he's like, wow, that's awesome. That's a great offer that he gave you. And I said, oh, okay. So you're telling me buy it. And he's like, well, you're never going to make any money on that. Yeah, it's too much money. And I'm like, oh, so you're telling me not to buy it? He goes, no, buy it. Call him back. Why did you even hang up? You should have just told him yes. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is the first time this ever happened to me. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm running the pencil on this, Dad. And I just don't see how I'm going to make it work. He goes, no, sometimes it's hard to see today. But he goes, look at what you're going to do with yield. Look at what we've done on some of our other ground. Over time, we can grow this. We can get another 20 bushel, maybe 50 bushel. Who knows? Maybe 100 bushel down the road. He goes, it's going to be good. You're going to be fine. You're going to do good on it. And so I did. So I bought it, and it wasn't a huge piece of ground, but it was enough to get started having something of my own. And that was one big lesson that Dad gave us, is just have some of your own money on the line, and you're going to learn a lot faster.
You heard it here first. Pencils and buying farmland do not go together. There's the lesson.
Yeah,
you don't. That's why you'll never find
true today.
You'll never find a Whitaker Marketing Group pencil.
Yep, there's no pencils because it just doesn't pencil.
Everyone remembers their first piece of land.
Yep.
Of land.
It's not where I thought you were
It took me a second there.
Uh-huh. Well, Darren, I want to be, one, respectful of your time, and two, we got to leave something for Brian to talk about. So we can't continue this conversation on forever. But I've got 3 questions to wrap up. Are you guys holding more?
No, go for it.
Really?
Well, I mean, I'm sure one of the 3 are probably what I have. So
what came first, the radio show or the radio voice?
Wow. I guess the voice, of course. I did a little bit of work when I was in FFA and I was in high school. And I remember doing some radio work there. And the guy that we were talking to, we got to the end, it was me and one other kid. And he's like, wow, he goes, you might have a voice for this. And I said, well, nobody on TV said I've got a face for TV. So at least I got something I can cling to here.
Then my next question was,
you guys are supposed to be like,
that was a joke.
TV. We're riding with it. It was just a statement. No humor in that. At a young age, when you started this, right? It's 27 years ago. You look no older than 30 right now. So as an infant, how'd you get people to take your advice when you were just a young guy, inexperienced, and now you're trying to tell others things that work or don't?
All right. Here's one more piece of advice I got from my dad, because we had this conversation many times, and he's like, look, you don't have to know everything. You just have to know one thing. And if you know one thing that you can help other people with, that's great, and it'll bring value. And you think about that a lot, and I see young people get discouraged. Hey, I'm in my 20s. I just got out of college, and I'm talking to farmers that are in their 50s or 60s or older. How are they ever going to respect me? Well, you're not going to tell them how to do everything on their farm, but if you can share one thing with them that they didn't know before, that's a good way to get started. For me, a lot of it was weed identification, and hey, here's this pigweed that now ALS herbicides don't kill anymore. What can you do? Here's some other things that'll work, and here's some strategies. And that was new information for a lot of guys, and it really helped a lot of people, and that kind of got us in the door. And obviously the weed of the week on our TV show was one of those things that a lot of people caught on to, and still today we still have a weed of the week, and people talk about that a lot. And it's just one of those things that, oh, okay, I didn't know what that was. I've seen it before. Now you shared some information with me that can help.
All right. My last question, gentlemen, is we obviously have looked up to what you and your brother have been doing.
Oh, thank you.
You've got many years of experience interviewing guests as well. Do you have any tips for conducting a good interview?
Well, I think it's just all about building rapport, and you guys do a great job on this too, that you just are talking to somebody and you actually care, and you're actually listening, and you're curious about what they're doing. And I think that's really a good thing. If you build a friendship pretty quickly, you see big podcasts out there like Joe Rogan. I think that's probably the best thing he does, is he builds rapport with somebody pretty quick. I'm sure he meets with them before they go on air for a little while, and they figure out some commonalities. But when you build rapport with people and your friends, we've got common interests. I mean, gosh, we're farmers. That's great. And people are always curious, oh, you're a farmer too? What do you raise? And how are you doing it? And this kind of thing. You can build rapport pretty quickly. I think that's really the key. It's one of the things people like about your show too.
Thank you.
You didn't hit on what I had.
Or what I had. Yeah.
All right.
Mine was, we're going to be coming up to a field day this summer.
Oh yeah.
And it's our first time coming to Baltic, South Dakota. When did this field day start, and explain what it is?
Well, we're talking about the Ag PhD Field Day. We've been doing it now over 20 years, and it's the largest private field day in the country. It's going to be 10,000 plus people, and it's all one day. And a lot of people say, wait, which days is it? No, it's one day. And the reason why, it is so much work, and it's really a great event. We just want to throw everything at it in one day so you have the best experience that you've ever had. If you haven't been there before and man, you got a lot to do, I would say get there early. You go to some of the big farm shows and you're like, I need to be there for more than one day. I won't get to see it all. You won't see it all in one day at our field day, but we hope that you have a great experience. You want to come back the next year. We'll have a bunch of plots out there. We've got probably at least a dozen crops this year. I'm not exactly sure the count, but it's generally around a dozen different crops. We're the biggest cotton farmers in South Dakota. We generally have some cotton just to show people what that's like. And on years like 2012, when it was super hot, it actually made cotton. We didn't harvest it because there's no gin within 1,000 miles, but it actually made it. So it was kind of cool to look at. But we have a lot of stuff happening in the field. So new technologies, new traits, new chemistry, new natural products, lots of natural products anymore. And they're pretty exciting. New fertility things, just a lot to see. Then we'll have pretty much all the big equipment companies will be there too. They'll actually have ride and drive areas where you could drive a tractor you've never driven before and see what this technology is all about. We'll have autonomous vehicles there. We've got a lot of entertainment things, so it's really set up for the whole family. It's just a super fun day. You can find all the details at agphd.com.
July 31st is the day that I have on my calendar. Is that correct?
It's the last Thursday in July every year. So this one is July 31st. That's right.
And what do they need to buy tickets to go? How does that work?
Free. Everything's free.
Okay.
You can pre-register online at agphd.com. That's great. That might get you through the gates a little quicker, but it is all free. Free parking, free food, free entertainment all throughout the day. It's a blast.
Man, free sounds like a farmer's dream.
That's one of a kind. Yeah.
Man.
What'd you have, Dave?
That was a great way to end it. So I don't even want to give mine, but I'll stump you. How about that?
Okay.
How many terabytes, gigawatts of data do you think that you have saved through all of your adventures over the years?
Wow. That's
1998. The cameras were like 2 megapixels.
I know,
It's
right?
really not that big of a file.
Yeah, I have no idea on that. I don't, not sure at all. And people talk about this too. They're like, well, have things changed over the years? Have you had to cover the same topic more than once? Of course we have, because there's been so much technology development over the last 27 years that things are totally different than they were back then. And, even on a year-to-year basis, the economics of farming changed greatly, whether it's nitrogen is $1 a pound this year and next year it's 30 cents. Well, that changes our thoughts about what we're going to do with nitrogen and what form of nitrogen we might choose and so forth. And yeah, I have no idea how much data we've got saved, but I'm sure it's a bunch.
That's cool. Well, we said in the beginning that we felt like it was royalty on this episode, and we do appreciate your wisdom and your willingness to have a little bit of fun, because our interview style is a little different than most.
That's okay. You guys are too kind. I really appreciate the opportunity. I love what you guys are doing. Thanks for including us. We really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate the invite up to Baltic, and we're excited to be up there at the end of July. So hopefully some of our listeners come out and hang out too. We'll be doing some live interviews. We'll also be up on stage, it sounds like, coming around.
Sounds like you guys are going to be royalty. That's awesome.
No. My dad's always said, if you can go 90 miles away from home, anybody can be an expert.
We're probably just like the jester.
The jester, yes.
The clown.
That's right. Well, Darren, we appreciate you. We appreciate all that Ag PhD does, and we appreciate all of our listeners too. Corey, what do you tell them?
Crack a cold one. You deserve it.